Hey yo, what's the deal? You know who it is. It's the Don, Tony Teflon, House Teflon, Teflon 316. We pull the strings here on Teflon TV. What up, my people? What up? And I'm back at you with another video now. I did a collaboration video, and during that collaboration video, I touched on the children of the forest. Now, I had to think that people don't see the children as the way I see them. People see these children of the forest like Ewoks, or more like, the little cute little creatures. Me, I do not see them like that. I see them more like gremlins, creatures with their own agenda. Now, we know in a world of ice and fire, there really isn't no good or bad. There is just what side you are on, what house you are born to, where you reside. Yeah, just like it is in the real world. So, I'm going to do a video myself right now on things that I said in that video and make it so that, because people seem to be unclear on why I feel that way. So I'm going to let you know exactly why I feel that way in this video and clear up things that were not so clear in that video. Alright, so that is what this video is about, the children of the forest. Now, I have some special things I will do during this video, Teflon Don way when we get it, and that's how we do. Now, the children of the forest, sometimes referred to simply as the children, are a mysterious non-human race that originally inhabited the continent of Westeros long before the arrival of the first men during the Dawn Age more than 12,000 years ago. The giants called them the Squirrel People. They called themselves the people who sung the Song of Earth, or who sing the Song of Earth. The children are smaller than men and have nut-brown skin dappled with deer-like spots. They have large ears that could hear things that no man could hear. They usually had large eyes, great golden cat's eyes. They had vertical slit-like pupils. Now, this trait is responsible for improving night vision and typically associated with the nocturnal lifestyle. And cat's eyes sound so cute, don't they? But we must remember that other species have eyes like that too. Species such as alligators and snakes, ones that are not so cute. Now, a few had green or red eyes, and these are the ones who had the gift of green sight, and they were known as green seers. Now, their hands had only 3 fingers and a thumb, and had sharp black claws instead of nails. So with that, let's learn a little bit more about the children.
The forests were in many ways the opposites of the giants, as small as children, but dark and beautiful. They lived in a manner we might call crude today, yet they were still less barbarous than the giants. They worked no metal, but they had great art in working obsidian, what the small folk called dragon glass, while the Valerians knew it by a word meaning frozen fire, to make tools and weapons for hunting. They wove no cloths, but were skilled in making garments of leaves and bark. They learned to make bows of weir wood and to construct flying snares of grass, and both of the sexes hunted with these. Their song and music were said to be as beautiful as they were, but what they sang of is not remembered, save in small fragments handed down from ancient days. Maester Childer's Winter's Kings, or the legends and lineages of the Starks of Winterfell, contains a part of a ballad alleged to tell of the time Brandon the Builder sought the aid of the children while raising the wall. He was taken to a secret place to meet with them, but could not at first understand their speech, which was described as sounding like the song of stones in a brook, or the wind through leaves, or the rain upon the water. The manner in which Brandon learned to comprehend the speech of the children is a tale in itself and not worth repeating here, but it seems clear that their speech originated or drew inspiration from the sounds they heard every day.
So they did not work metal, but they knew how to make weapons out of dragon glass. Now, dragon glass is a volcanic glass, but there are no volcanoes in the north. I don't think they sailed to Dragonstone to mine it. So how did they make it? I don't know if the hot springs that are spread across could make that happen. Now, it just so happens that dragon glass is the one weakness of the others, and that the candles of the Valyrians are made of dragon glass. Now, the candles, when burning, give people the ability to communicate across oceans and see in dreams and get foresight. So the candles give regular humans basically a form of green sight. And the first candle to be burning in over 100 years just so happens to be burning in a house of a man named Nightwalker. Now, I could and I will do a video on them, so I won't touch on them anymore. But I will say that some type of magic had to be put in this candle to make it happen. And we know that children have the ability to put magic or bestow magic on items. That is why Brandon the Builder sought them out for help for the war. So they must have used some magic to also make the dragon glass. Or they have to have the ability to turn some type of rock into dragon glass by some type of magic. But to me, that does not sound like the magic of the old gods or the magic of the gods they claim that they pray to, which is nature.
The gods the children worshipped were the nameless ones that would one day become the gods of the first men, the innumerable gods of the streams and forests and stones. It was the children who carved the weirwoods with faces, perhaps to give eyes to their gods so that they might watch their worshippers at their devotions. Others, with little evidence, claimed that the green seers, the wise men of the children, were able to see through the eyes of the carved weirwoods. The supposed proof is the fact that the first men themselves believed this. It was their fear of the weirwoods spying upon them that drove them to cut down many of the carved trees and weirwood groves to deny the children such an advantage.
So the children claimed to pray to nature and claimed to carve faces on these trees so that the gods of nature could see them praying. But we know, as did the first men, that the children used the trees to spy on them during war. And that's why they attacked them, and that's the way they attacked the first men to begin with. So it seems to me that's why such a peaceful race seems to have fought every race they have ever come across. And I don't understand how such a peaceful race has to fight every race they come across. So first, they fight the giants.
But numerous. But on Westeros, from the lands of always winter to the shores of the summer sea, only two peoples existed, the children of the forest and the race of creatures known as the giants. Of the giants in the Dawn Age, little and less can be said, for no one has gathered their tales, their legends, their histories. Men of the Watch say the wildlings have tales of the giants living uneasily alongside the children, ranging where they would and taking what they wanted.
Also found in giants' graves were dragon glass arrowheads that were lodged in the rib cage of giants. So we know that the giants have fought the children. And the reason why they said that they fought the giants was because the giants ranged all over the land and took whatever they wanted. So we basically know that the giants were very simple creatures, and they couldn't have been mining for gold or anything. And if they did knock down a couple of weirwood trees, that it wouldn't be significant because it's not like they're building houses with it, you know? So they didn't live like that. And the children also themselves did knock down weirwood trees and make bows with them, which just so happens to be a weapon that kills the dragons. So when you look at it right from the back, you have the children that have the ability to make the two weapons that kill the two strongest people in this book series. That's that. So, but basically what I'm saying is that they fought the giants for land because they ranged for land, right? So that's the peaceful children. They meet up with the giants and they fight them. Next, they fight the first men when they come across the peaceful children of the forest.
With the children of the forest. Unlike the children, the first men farmed the land and raised up ring forts and villages. And in so doing, they took to chopping down the weirwood trees, including those with carved faces. And for this, the children attacked them, leading to hundreds of years of war. The first men, who had brought with them strange gods, horses, cattle, and weapons of bronze, were also larger and stronger than the children, and so they were a significant threat. The hunters among the children, their wood dancers, became their warriors as well. But for all their secret arts of tree and leaf, they could only slow the first men in their advance. The greenseers employed their arts, and tales say they could call the beasts of marsh, forest, and air to fight on their behalf. Direwolves and monstrous snow bears, cave lions and eagles, mammoths and serpents, and more. But the first men proved too powerful, and the children are said to have been driven to a desperate act. Legend says that the great floods that broke the land bridge that is now the Broken Arm and made the neck a swamp were the work of the greenseers, who gathered at Moat Cailin to work dark magic. Some contest this, however. The first men were already in Westeros when this occurred, and stemming the tide from the east would do little more than slow their progress. Moreover, such power is beyond even what the greenseers are traditionally said to have been capable of, and even those accounts appear exaggerated. It is likelier that the inundation of the neck and the breaking of the arm were natural events, possibly caused by a natural sinking of the land. What became of Valyria is well known, and in the Iron Islands, the castle of Pike sits on stacks of stone that were once part of the greater island before segments of it crumbled into the sea. Regardless, the children of the forest fought as fiercely as the first men to defend their lives. Inexorably, the war ground on across generations until at last the children understood that they could not win. The first men, perhaps tired of war, also wished to see an end to the fighting. The wisest of both races prevailed, and the chief heroes and rulers of both sides met upon the isle in the God's Eye to form the pact, giving up all the lands of Westeros, save for the deep forests. The children won from the first men the promise that they would no longer cut down the weirwoods. All the weirwoods of the isle on which the pact was forged were then carved with faces, so that the gods could witness the pact, and the order of green men was made afterward to tend to the weirwoods and protect the isle. With the pact, the dawn age of the world drew to a close, and the age of heroes followed.
So, first, let's just say that the Maester presenting the story is confusing magic of the children with natural events, talking about Pike, and Pike seems to be a Atlantis type situation going on over there, and stuff being built over top of it, and confusing that with a magical situation that obviously, what is magic? To some people, magic is only undiscovered science, so he could be right in that sense, but we know it was not a natural event that would cause these events. All right, so the children claim to attack because they chopped down the trees with the faces. And when they did attack, they used every trick they could. They walked into every type of beast. And when you listen to when it says they walked into every type of animal plus other things. Now, what are the other things that they walked into? We don't know. It doesn't say. It says plus other things. But it names every animal. It says animals and serpents and polar bears and everything plus other things. I don't think they're talking about bees. All right? Me personally. All right? So they used every trick they could, but they still couldn't stop the first men because men are relentless. They had bronze weapons. They're big. And men, just like men, we're relentless. And we don't stop coming. So they had their green seers break the arm. And they had nothing else they could do. And then they fucked up when they tried to do it again. And they turned their neck into a swamp. And they did this from Moat Kalen. All right. After doing that, they knew they couldn't win. So they made their pact at the God's Eye. Right. All right. They gave up all the land that they had just fought. Not just fought, but they fought the giants over. So they fought the giants over this land. And they gave all that land up. All right. And the reason why they gave it up was they wanted to preserve the werewoods. Now, I also believe in the pact that it is said that there had to be a godswood in their castles, thus making them new members of the religion of the old gods. That's just what I believe because it was said that they had their own gods when they came. And when you look at everyone in Westeros history that prays to something, it's extremely hard, if not impossible, to get them to turn on their gods. Thus, I think it had to be part of a pact. And the Godwoods, as proof that they are holding to their pact, part of the pact, enabling the children to look on from the underground. But we know the children were not just content with this. And at one time they did fight against the Starks with a man known as the Warg King. And they were defeated. But this shows that they did try to gain some type of control back.
Chronicles found in the archives of the Night's Watch at the Night Fort, before it was abandoned, speak of the war for Sea Dragon Point, wherein the Starks brought down the Warg King and his inhuman allies, the Children of the Forest. When the Warg King's last redoubt fell, his sons were put to the sword, along with his beasts and green seals, whilst his daughters were taken as prizes by their conquerors. House Greenwood, House Towers, House Amber, and House Frost met similar ends, together with a score of lesser houses and petty kings, whose very names are lost to history. Yet the bitterest foes of Winterfell were undoubtedly the Red Kings of the Dreadfort, those grim lords of House Bolton, whose domains of old stretched from the last river to the White Knife and as far south as the Sheep's Head Hills.
So we see that after they fought against the Starks, they were slaughtered and put to the sword. And the Starks then took the brides of the Warg King and married them, as I said in the previous video. I believe that's how the Starks got their warging ability. But what I have to say is, why would you fight the Starks? The Starks who do blood sacrifices to the werewolves. But first you must ask yourself, why would you allow such a disgusting, cruel act like a blood sacrifice to be performed on your most precious thing in the world, something that you just fought wars for hundreds of years to preserve? But you're going to allow people to hang entrails and body pieces on them. And I could only see one reason why they would allow this.
Wood crumbs. In the age of heroes, the legends say, the Ironborn were ruled by a mighty monarch known simply as the Grey King. The Grey King ruled the sea itself and took a mermaid to wife, so his sons and daughters might live above the waves or beneath them as they chose. His hair and beard and eyes were as grey as a winter sea, and from these he took his name. The crown he wore was made of driftwood, so all who knelt before him might know that his kingship came from the sea and the drowned god who dwells beneath it. The deeds attributed to the Grey King by the priests and singers of the Iron Islands are many and marvelous. It was the Grey King who brought fire to the earth by taunting the storm god until they lashed down with a thunderbolt, setting a tree ablaze. The Grey King also taught men to weave nets and sails and carved the first longship from the pale hard wood of the ig, a demon tree who fed on human flesh.
So here we see the story of the Grey King. And the Grey King has done many things. And many things you could say are stories. Maybe he did not take a mermaid to wife. Maybe he did not provoke the storm god into sending a lightning bolt and making fire. But the fact that he killed a demon tree named Ig that is described as pale hardwood, that is known for feeding on human flesh, seems to be believable to me. So a demon weirwood tree named Ig was killed by the Grey King. This tree fed on human flesh. So a blood sacrifice on a weirwood tree seems to me like a tribute to Ig. And if this is the case, and the children allow it, then they must have taught it to the first men. So we also know that the Night King performed the same tribute at the Night Fort with his other queens. Now, I'll say something that I really haven't heard anyone say before, which is mostly what the stuff I say is anyway. But when the children speak, it is called a song, right? Or sometimes referred to as singing. Now, it is also said that the children have the ability to make songs that can make anyone instantly be moved to tears. Now, this to me sounds like a form of empathy control, a form of mind control, a mild form. If they can make someone instantly move to tears, could they make someone instantly mad or happy or maybe fall in love or anything like that? And now, if you think this sounds crazy, but don't, because Melisandre has powders that can do all these things. And as I said before, sometimes magic is just undiscovered science. But it appears that children can do this just by talking to you. So, to me, so far, the children, this so-called peaceful race, they have fought the giants. They have fought the first men. They have destroyed land masses, killed countless people who were on the land masses when they destroyed it. They have the ability to see in the past and the future. And they also have the ability to talk to the dead. Yes, it is said that the children, green seers, have their green sight, and they have the ability to speak to the dead. Now, you could look it up before you say that I messed up or anything, but that is true. Now, I believe that this is done by going back into the trees and talking directly to the person who has passed on. Now, this is something they specifically tell Bran, who is supposed to be their next one, flat out that he cannot do. Why do they say this? And that leads me to the last people they have fought, the others. And I will talk about them and Bran and Bloodraven in part 2 of the children, because this has gone on a little long, so we'll have to do another one a little bit later. You know what I mean? Because that's just the way it's got to be. 25 jumps on this. So, hopefully you have liked that. And if you did, please thumbs up it. Please share it. Please join my Facebook page. Please just subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Let's make this house rise. Let's do what we do, baby. Because you know who it is. It's the Don. Tony Teflon. House Teflon. Teflon 316. We pull the strings here on Teflon TV. Peace and stay sexy.